Hi, welcome to the garden today. We're going to talk about north, south, east, and west directionality that also encompasses earth, air, wind, and fire. We're going to talk about some gems that fit in the paradigm of the four directions, kind of how to use the four directions, how we see the four directions in metaphysics. And I'm going to kind of call this segment Which Way is Up. When you read tarot, there are cards that people decide they assign will mean to them certain directions, but directionality is like specific timing with tarot. It's very difficult. There are a few patterns people develop, and sometimes they work, but just like all things in casting cards, casting anything else, throwing them down, don't always get the answer that you think you're going to get. So let's talk about the four elements that we're going to be discussing. We're going to talk about earth, air, fire, and water. And then there's a fifth element in a lot of shamanistic things and feng shui. In feng shui, they call it wood. And other people who are splitting the universe up, when they're talking about crystals, they talk about outer space, things that come in from outer space. And for those of you who are interested in what sort of crystals, well, first of all, most of the minerals we have on this planet actually landed in us during the old primordial days. We were a big wad of goo and lots of asteroids and things were coming in, hitting us. But there are some specific gems that still ride in on meteorites, but most meteorites burn up before you can get anything from them. But then I'm going to talk about, they're called tektrites. And Andrea and I are going to do a show on her channel, I believe. It's be hers or mine, but it'll be 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time. 6 o'clock Central Daylight Time here. 6 o'clock Central Daylight Time here on Tuesday. And we're thinking about making it live. If it's not live, if you would like to write questions in the comments below, so we can answer your questions if you have some about that. Anyway, today we're talking about the four main elements that you find: earth, wind, fire, and water, and kind of how those deal with things directionally. There are certain stones that tend to fit in the classification of those. Now, earth in feng shui is east, and I'm using feng shui for this. And feng shui also has spirit, or the fifth element, wood, but other people have sort of broken it down. So earth is east, air is north, fire is south, and west is water. Now, when you run into these paradigms in some of the different ways of casting stones, or doing things with stones, or with readings, east has the tradition of that's something that's coming towards you, sort of the setting sun. West is the energy going away from you. So if that's kind of east and west is easy, because east is earth and west is water. Now, north and south, when you get something that's from the south, it's from the fire element, it's also ancestral, which comes up sometimes in past lives. What's the southern element that's bringing in that ancestral pull? And air is to the north. Now, to add another wrinkle into all this, earth is grounded. It's things that are coming towards you, so it may not come as quickly as you want. Air is to the north. It means change, and those elements. Fire to the south, the ancestral thing, that's action. That's the fire that pushes you up. It's sort of like that solar plexus energy that if your solar plexus gets blocked, your get up and go is gone. So if that's that kind of energy that moves you forward, and it's the base that you move forward from, like ancestral things. And water is to the west. And water is, we've learned our lessons, so we're dealing with a lot of things in the western part. If you could think of your life in four parts, in the western part, it's a lot of intuition and thought. You've been educated. So that's a whole lot to take right now. What I'm going to talk about is, if you're thinking, I want to draw things in, I want to move things towards me. These are the stones that are part of the grounding that can help things move towards you. It's carnelian, red jasper, emeralds, and as I will tell you again, that's my birthstone. So if you have a couple of those lying around you don't know what to do with, if you look below, there's a way to get in touch with me. We'll work it out. Then there's rainforest jasper, which is a beautiful jasper, serpentine, which is a lovely light white stone. It goes white to green, and agate. All kinds of agates are grounding. And then if you can add in the color of the agate, like the agate that's that way behind me, that one, you guys have no idea how difficult this is to, when you're sitting looking at a mirror image. The big red rock behind me, the big circular one, that's a red agate globe. That thing weighs a ton. And then peridot. And peridot has the distinction of also being one of the stones that rides in with meteors. We know from meteors that they've recovered in the earth, and I've actually seen a cross section of one. You can see the peridot, the little chips of peridot in it, all surrounded by the other matter that was in the meteor. Looks like a little stained glass window. It's really pretty, but it's one of the earliest minerals that we consider gem quality that was formed in the universe. That because some of these meteors that are hitting us, when they check out how old they are, those go all the way back to the Big Bang. Okay, now we're going to go into, and in Earth, you also get copper. And so if you want some grounding, I was at a crystal store in Austin. They had some really interesting ways of using copper with crystals to create a grounding force, which I thought was kind of interesting. I didn't play with it long. I just looked at it a whole lot. Didn't buy it. Air, which means change. Air is for things from the north. Air is like a cooling breeze, if you think about it that way. It's new beginnings. And in the crystals, the octahedron that I always show you from my fluorites, the 8-sided fluorite, it's part of that. Signs and symbols, that means that you're looking at an air situation. And the air crystals are celestite, azurite, pumice, because some pumice is so light that it floats because there's so little rock and so much air that got caught when the pumice was made in the volcano. Blue apatite, lepidolite, turquoise, we're getting a lot of blue stones here, blue kyanite, blue sapphire, angelite, and mica. And mica is, if you've ever seen a stone that looked like little pieces of aluminum foil were shifting off of it, that's mica. Now we're going to go to fire, which is to the south, which, if you're looking at it, certain grids, it means ancestral past patterns or patterns from the past, and it means action. And action towards you or action you take. If it's action towards you, that means you're probably holding on to a piece of pyrite or a piece of gold, because gold is the gold standard of fire gems. Okay, it's also going to be red jasper, amber, rhodochrosite, lava rocks, fire agate, citrine, diamonds, obsidian, clear quartz, and also fossils kind of fall into this area. That's where spirit rocks and earthly rocks that we go with fall together. Then you get to water. And water is the intuitive and emotional side of us. It also means west. If you get a lot of water things, you can sometimes say this means whatever movement could be coming from the west, or you could be going to the west. And stones that fit in the water category are amethyst, opal, white calcite, pearl makes sense, blue lace agate, they look watery, aquamarine, because it looks like the color of water, moonstone, selenite, and blue tourmaline, so they're blue over here. Once again, I'm going to caution you, and this is going to be my quick lecture on cleansing your stones. The safest way to do it is to do it with smoke. And I mean, unless you're just not real good with fire. But if you're not good with fire, get little Palo Santo sticks. They have a lovely fragrance. They come from a tree in South America. It's a blessed wood. The way they harvest it is they wait for the tree to fall down, and then it has to dry up for a certain period of time. Then they can bring the tree in and cut it into incense sticks. And you can get Palo Santo and incense cones. You can use incense cones to clear your crystals. And because it says they're water crystals, do not put them in water. Water is a way that can really damage a lot of crystals you wouldn't think they could damage, because there's microfractures on the surface of the crystals, and the water gets in there and it activates things, and it can be really ugly. If you have a piece of selenite sitting around that you don't like very much, throw it in some water and you can see what water can do to crystals. The other way to cleanse crystals is to put them in the full moon. If you have a place where you can put them out in the full moon and you're going to come back and they'll be back there. The other thing is chiming bells. The other thing is using one of the spirit bowls to ring a sound around them. You can chant over them. You can clap loudly over them. You'll see a lot of readers that'll tap their cards real quickly just before they start to read. That's to drive any of the other energy out and only let the new energy from the new situation in. So, and the other thing about crystals is, some people say, oh, I'll put them out in the sun purifies everything. Well, yeah, the sun also fades the amethyst. It super fades rose quartz. There's just a whole lot of reasons. If you have a dark crystal, if it's a light crystal, it's not going to do anything. If it's a light white quartz crystal, it's pretty much, you can use any of the methods you've ever heard about cleansing crystals and it will clean them up. And if you're using a crystal, if you're concentrating on a crystal to heal yourself, the first thing I do, if I was going to do that, is I'd cleanse that crystal so that it's completely free of whatever energy's been bound to it before. And then I'd use it for that purpose. And then I would cleanse it again when I was finished using it for that. And that's kind of that. And because there are people who believe crystals have like a life of their own. They have their own vibration. And I want you to remember, when you're taking care of your crystals, each one of those crystals is utterly unique. It was made where it was made. It was, if it's a raw crystal and it has not been tumbled or rolled or anything, it's just, that is totally unique in this universe. And so if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And those stones hold those things. And that quote came from Nikola Tesla. So it says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, he's basically saying, look at the frequency, the energy, and the vibration that comes from your crystals, and treat them that way, that each time it's unique. And if you've put a lot of different energy in there, you need to be able to cleanse it, draw it out, and get back to what we used to call tabula rasa, back to the blank slate, so that you can work with it. Anyway, that's sort of which way is up. And I'm sure y'all are sitting there going, I didn't write all that down. You can Google a lot of this stuff if you want. There's a lot of different places you can go and look. And I look at lots of places, and I've kept notes over the years. So I'm coming out of my own notebooks for this. But honest to God, guys, I can't write it all out. Maybe someday I will, and I will explain to you why I mix the energies of what I mix. But right now, today, I'm working on a major project. I'm doing a lot of writing. I found the Nikola Tesla quote when I was looking up things about frequency, energy, and in part for what Andre and I are going to talk about. I was going to talk about rocks from space, because I have a friend, and I'll tell this story on that show too, so you'll hear it twice. She all of a sudden started having a lot of blood pressure problems. She's always had kind of a twitchy anxiety reflex, but I mean, she's really starting to affect her badly and stopping her sleep. And so she used to live in New York, and she knew a lot of crafters and merchants and people who sold things. And she and I talk frequently because she's kind of one of my apprentices. She's one of the people I work with, and when I'm designing the eggs and the other things that I design. And she got a notice that this showroom in New York was closing, and they had a lot of one-of-a-kind sort of pieces. And one of the pieces that they had was a necklace that's very old, and it was made, and I know these two stones are on it. There's two other things, and I don't remember what they were, because they're lovely, but they didn't interest me all that much, but they tie to her. But she got a necklace that had a piece of true Moldavite, and she knows the merchant. She knows he wouldn't be calling it Moldavite and not it being Moldavite. Besides, she has a degree in geology, and she could figure out if it was really Moldavite. And then it also had a tiny piece of the meteor that went through Siberia. I think it was in 1908. And if you've never looked at, Google that, look it up. I'll see if I can find a link and I'll include it in the bottom of this. It swept through Siberia and it flattened like a couple hundred miles of forest. It was like out in the dead nothing out in Siberia. Had that hit in other places on the earth, it could have caused some real serious problems when you see how these trees are flattened back. She got a piece of that. They found shattered bits of it and people gathered it up. And somehow or another, she found a piece of that that's on this necklace too. And so she started wearing it because she'd asked me about it. And I said, Moldavite's very powerful. And meteors, I understand if you can get little chips of them. And you can. There are places that sell meteorite chips. I understand they're very powerful. And she got it. And her blood pressure has stabilized so much and is so low now. She's like, can that be real? And I said, it's as real as the stones that are around your neck. So we're going to talk a little more about healing and crystals and things like that too. I'm looking for a good crystal healer to bring in to talk about how to use that. That's kind of it for today. So next Tuesday, which is May 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'll get lots of those in my Facebook that day. May 4th at 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 5 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Time. So now you got your time zones. We're still debating whether to make it live or not. But Andrea and I will be discussing, well, I guess if we're going to give you times, I guess we have to make it live. Oops, I just made a commitment. Okay, we're probably going to go live on that day. And we're going to be talking about space rocks. And I'm going to be talking about, I've done some shows on that, but I've been doing a lot more looking up recently about that. And those come from the fifth element from the universe. So that's the end of that. And we will talk again later. Bye.